afternoon, everyone. Am I audible to you all? Hello. Am I audible? Okay. So, in our last lecture, we had started with the network layer. Okay. Already, we had already started. We have gone through the uh, IPv4, IPv6, etc. So we'll continue further with the various algorithms of routing algorithms that we'll be using in the network layer. Fine. Is the screen visible to you all? Okay. Fine. So in the last lecture, we had discussed about the difference between the virtual circuit and the data subnets, which you all are till now you might have been clear with these things. Next, we'll see about the various routing algorithms. So, what is the function of this routing algorithm? First of all, by the name itself, it has to provide the route from source to destination for a given packet, isn't it? That is what the routing algorithm has to do. It has to find out the path from source host to the destination. That's what this routing algorithm has to do. Okay, so we have already studied that. We have already learned about forwarding. What is that forwarding? What we have learned in forwarding? So we have learned about forwarding and aggregation. What was that? Forwarding means what? For a particular router, there might be number of interfaces. Okay. Are you getting me? Okay. So a particular packet, when it arrives to the router, based upon the routing table, it has to decide that this particular incoming packet, which it arrives to, what interface it has to uh, output that particular packet based upon the routing table. Okay, so the function of the routing algorithm is, apart from forwarding, it has to fill that routing table. Okay, we have seen how the routing table, it has to fill the routing table, as well as even it has to update the routing table based upon the current situation in the network. Fine, that is the main aim of, that is the main function of this routing algorithm. Now, this routing algorithm, apart from the properties like number of hops or uh, number of the bandwidth or the delay, etc., there are a number of factors which has to be considered while it decides some algorithm. It has to decide some uh, 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 for routing purpose. It has to consider all these properties like bandwidth, queuing delay, the cost, the distance between the host. Okay, so suppose one is sitting in India, the other host is somewhere else, then it has, based upon that the distance between the two hosts, also it has to decide a certain route through which the packet has to be forwarded. Fine. So there are various such properties which has to be considered before actually the routing has to be carried out, or the packets has to be delivered towards a destination. Now there are this routing algorithm should there are certain properties for this routing algorithm, like it has to be correct. What do you mean by correctness of this algorithm? That means that if it is meant for a particular destination, then the algorithm should be correct such that that particular packet has to be delivered to that particular to that particular destination, or to that particular host. Then this routing should be simple. It should not become more complicated. The other properties of this routing algorithm is it should be robust. That means what? In case if, say, suppose some routers in between from host A to host B, when it is moving, if some of the routers get failed, okay, then the what the routing algorithm should do, it should adapt, or it should cope up with the failed this route. Even if it has failed, it has to adapt, or it has to change its route based upon the routers which are currently active. Okay, so that means it has to be robust. Fine. Then the fourth point is it should be stable. Okay, the stability should be there for this algorithm. It should not happen that packet should be moving from one router to the other router, that it is just moving in between these routers. So the algorithm should be stable, and it should converge to an equilibrium. Apart from that, the other properties uh, which should be applicable for this routing algorithm is it should be fair, as well as it should be optimal. Okay, that means the route what it decides, it should be optimal from source to the destination. Even it should be fair. So, but these two are the contradictory point that we'll see as we go further. For example, say suppose if we are having one horizontal link between x and x dash, and there are number of host a dash b dash c dash d etc., and all of them are sharing this common link, right? So if you can see that this link is used by to transfer the packet from a to a dash, b to b dash, c to c dash. Fine. That means while they are using this particular link, the host x and x dash would not be able to utilize this particular link. Do you agree to this? That means, no doubt, this path is optimal, and all of them are using this particular path for a and a dash, b and b dash, c and c dash, but it is not fair for x and x dash. Do you agree to this? Okay, so it should sometimes it should be possible that if x and x dash want to communicate with each other, then the traffic from a to a dash, b to b dash, c to c dash should be stopped. Then only x and x dash should be can communicate it to each other. Okay, so that means if sending a packet between these hosts, it is optimal, but it is not fair because x and x dash is not able to send any packets to each other. Whereas if it wants to keep fair, but then it has to make some compromise with this optimality. Is this thing clear, everyone? Okay. So based upon these basics of this routing algorithm, again this routing algorithm are divided into two types. Either it can be non-adaptive. It is either it can be a non-adaptive routing algorithm, or it can be an adaptive routing algorithm. Okay, these are the two classification of this routing algorithm. In case of non-adaptive routing algorithm, the routing would be decided before the network is established, and that route is provided to all the routers which comes between host A as well as host B. Are you getting this? Say suppose if there are two hosts A as well as B, there might be number of routers which are connected to A, which comes between A and B. In case of non-adaptive type of routing algorithm, before the network is established, a route from A to B is decided, and that route is provided to all the routers, so that all the packets which are coming from A should be forwarded through that particular route. So that is nothing but non-adaptive. So say suppose if some of the router goes down, then it would not adapt itself, or it would not find out some different path to move the packets from A to B. Followed? So that is nothing but the non-adaptive, and that is also known as, sometimes they use the term as static routing algorithm. Okay, that means it is fixed. The route is fixed for non-adaptive type of routing algorithm. Whereas in case of adaptive routing algorithm, which is also known as a dynamic type of routing algorithm, based upon the current situation of the network, the route from A to B can be varying. Okay, so the various factors, as we have discussed, on which this route would be decided is the mean queue length. So what happens in say suppose if at a particular route, if say suppose number of packets are transmitted, in that case it the traffic would be increased, as well as the queue length which is there for a particular router, so that would also increase. So what happens, A would decide that the new packets should be forwarded through some different route. Okay, so that is nothing but the dynamic routing algorithm. Hope everyone is clear with this. Mean queue length, then the bandwidth. There are various factors for the adaptation of this new routes. So that is nothing but the dynamic routing algorithm. Fine. Hope everyone is clear with this. Any doubts? Okay. So one such routing algorithm is the very first one. What we are studying is the optimality principle. So here it says that if the optimality principles says that any route between I to K, okay, if there is any route, a route from I to K is optimal. If it is optimal, then any route, any other, I mean, say suppose this is J, this is L. So, and the route from J to K is also optimal, and route from L to K would also be optimal. Okay, that is nothing but the optimality principle. Hope you are getting this. If I say that a route from say Nadia to Ahmedabad, if I use the express highway, that is my shortest route. Okay, now if I use that, if I want to have say from Maninagar to Ahmedabad, okay, so if I say that this particular route is optimal, it implies that from this station to this station would also be an optimal path. If this is not optimal, then the route from I to K would also not be optimal. So that would contradict the statement. Okay, so that is this is the optimality principle. Any route from one station to the other station is there, and if that route is optimal, then any other station which lies between the two stations, the route from that station to this station, or this station to this station, would also be an optimal. Okay, now for example, if I'm having this particular subnet which contains number of routers, and these are the communication links, fine. So what happens if we consider that the number of hops as a metric to find out the optimal route? So what we'll do, based upon this optimality principle, uh, this all these routers would be having all these are nothing but the source, and this is the destination. So all these router would have only a particular path to the destination, to the source, because due to the optimality principle, if I say that if there is a optimal path from D to B through A, that means the A to B is also an optimal path. Do you agree to this, all of you? If I say an optimal path is from D to B, it implies that there is an optimal path is also there from A to B. Similarly, if I say that there is an optimal path from L to B through, say, suppose G, if I am considering through G, it implies that there is also an optimal path from G to D, from D to A, as well as from A to B. This is what it says. And as we are having an optimal path, there would not be any loop, because due to this optimality principle, there would be only a unique path from one source to the destination. Okay, and hence there would not be any loops into the network. Are you getting me? Hello, is this thing clear? There would not be any loops because each of them are the optimal path. And as we know that, if that is the optimal path, then all the routers which comes across that path, all of them are the optimal path. Fine. So here, if they have considered the metric as the number of hops, and they have and since there are no loops, there would be a tree like structure. Okay, so this is a tree, and all of them are, all these host or the routers, so they form the source, and this is the destination. Sorry, these are the destination, and these are the source, and this is the destination. That means if M wants to pass the data packet through to B, this is the only the optimal path through which it can pass. There are no other ways. And if there is any other way, it means that it is not an optimal path. This is not an optimal path. Understood, all of you? Okay. So that forms a tree, which is also known as sync tree. Okay, and that is for router B. So this is my destination, and all these are the source, and all of them are having an optimal path, and it would create a tree. It is not necessary that always the sync tree would be same. Okay, for example, here you can see that to reach from B to I, one, okay. So it might be possible that, say suppose to reach to I, there say suppose to reach to H, how many hops are there? Say 1 2 1 2 3 4, and here 1 2 3. Okay, in this example it doesn't satisfy. It might be possible that, say suppose if I'm having one more link like this. Okay, in that case the sync tree might it can change. Okay, instead of providing a connection from here to here, I can have a sync tree from here to here. There can be a communication path from here to here. Okay, so this link would be you can eliminate this link. So it is not that the sync tree would be unique. You can have more than one sync tree, but the thing is that all these there will not be any loop into this, and hence there would be an optimal path from any of the source to a given destination. Follow? So this is about the optimality principle. So the next routing algorithm is the shortest path routing. So which is, it uses the Dijkstra's algorithm, which you might have studied in your DA. Have you studied it? Yes or no? Dijkstra's algorithm, isn't it? So this Dijkstra's algorithm will help us to find the shortest path from a given host to the destination. Say suppose we are having these A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H are the routers, and these are the communication link, and these are the cost of this communication link. Okay, and this is an unidirected. Here, since we don't have any arrows, that means there is no direction which is provided. And here, now I want to find out a shortest path from the host A to host D. Followed? And the metric what it is used here, it is not always that hop, or it is the bandwidth. So the cost is decided based upon the various factors what we have already discussed. Fine. So in this particular case, there would be a working set, or you can working node as well as a permanent node. Now if I want to start from host A, so what is the first step it has to do? So I'll make this as permanent node. Okay, and the routers which are connected to this particular node, say suppose B as well as G, those are the routers which are connected to this particular node. So make uh, you make here the end, you change here. So say suppose b can be reached, through a, using the weight 2, whereas g can be reached through a with the weight a, with the weight 6, and it can be reached through a. Okay, now among these, uh, this is already made permanent. Now among this, the one which is having the least value. Okay, so among this, B is having 2 and G is having 6. So B is having 2. That means this node I am making it permanent. Are you getting this? Initially, all these are made infinite. So here it would be comma, infinite weight would be there. But as soon as we are making one node permanent, all the nodes which are connected to it that can be changed, and the minimum one should be kept. Earlier, initially it was infinite, so now it has become 2. So now among these two is minimum. So make this node as permanent, and whatever the nodes which are connected to B, okay, you have to find out the, you have to make these as the working node. So for example, after B, the nodes which are connected to B is C as well as E. So change this weight of C as 9, because 7 plus 2 is the weight to reach A, and at this communication link it is having the weight as 7. So C can reach to A through B by this particular weight, that is 9, and through what it has to, it would reach to A, it is through B. Okay, so once this is done, now among these working node G, C as well as E, what we have found that E is having the minimum value. This is having the minimum value, that is 4. So make this as permanent. Okay, and now based upon this, you have to make the one who are neighboring to this E. So this is F, and here it is an infinite. So F can be reached through, F can reach to A through E by how much cost? So this is 4 and this is 2. So 4 plus 2 would be 6. So F can reach to A through E with a cost of 6. Is this thing clear, everyone? So now again comparing these three. These are the working nodes, G, C, F as well as G, and among this, the minimum weight is for G. The minimum one is G, so which is equal to 5. So now making this G as the permanent node, and again the same thing here, the neighboring one which is temporary. So for that it would provide this weight. So 5 plus 4 is 9. So it would update this to 9 comma G. That means H can reach to A through G with the weight 9. Okay. Now again comparing all these weights, the one which is having minimum. So this F is having minimum. So make this as permanent node, and this is 6. So again update these links based upon the weight of this F. So F is having 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. So 9 comma B or 9 comma F, it is one and same. Whereas here it is 6 plus 2, it is 8. So make a change here to 8. Okay. So this will be 8 comma F, because it can reach to A through F with the weight 8. Now the last one is D. Okay. So 8 plus 2 is 10. So here it will be 10 comma H. Whereas if it, so this would be my, this is how we can reach to H through using the weight 10. And if I do the reverse way, so D can reach to H. What would be the path? From D to H, then H can reach to A through F. So this would be the path. F can reach to A through E. So this would be the path. E can reach to A via B. So this would be the path, and then this is the path. Hope this is clear. So this is how the Dijkstra's algorithm would work. Okay, is this thing clear, everyone? The shortest path routing algorithm. This you might have already studied in your DA subject. The same thing is repeated here. Any doubts in this? Or shall I continue with the next one? Any other answer? Followed all of you? Okay. How about others? The next. The next one is the static routing algorithm is the flooding. Okay. So what do you mean by flooding? Flooding means what? Whatever the packet arrives to a particular router, it would forward that packet to all the routers which are connected to it. For example, say suppose if a packet arrives to the host E, then which are the link through this B? Say suppose B would send a packet to host E, to router E. So with what are the links which are connected to E? This is the link and this is the link. Okay. So what it will do, it will forward all the packets to all the links which are connected to it. So that is nothing but flooding. So when the packet reaches to F, it would flood here all the outgoing links except from where it has come. Now this packet would reach to C. See where it will flood. It will flood here as well as here. Are you getting this? Again, B receives the same packet once again. Again, it would forward it to E. Are you getting this? So what happens? It would roam the such packets infinitely. It would roam within the network. Hope you are getting this. Hello. Okay. Flooding means what? Every incoming packet is sent out on every outgoing line except the one it arrived on. So from the packet through which it arrives, only it will not forward that packet only onto that link, whereas it will forward to the rest of the link which is connected to it. So that is nothing but the flooding. But the problem of the flooding is that the number of packets, the duplicates would be so much that it would the traffic would be increased for such type of flooding, for such type of uh, routing. Okay. So to overcome this, to control this flood, either it can use the hop counter. So what happens? Say suppose A can reach, D can reach through, A can reach to D in say suppose 4 hops or 6 hops. Okay. Then in the a hop counter would be there which would put 6. So what happens when when the packets which are in this network, if it the at every hop it would be decremented by this hop counter would be decremented, and when it reaches to 0, those packets would be removed from this network. Okay, so that is one way to control the flood, because once the packets are removed, it would not further be flooded once again through the routers. Or the other way is that it can provide the sequence number. For example, say suppose this is a router A and some host A is connected, some host H1 is connected to this router. Okay, so now when the packets are provided by this host to this router A, for every packet it would provide the sequence number. Say suppose sequence number 1, 2, 3, etc. Okay, now the packet with sequence number 1 has already been flooded by this router A. Then 2 it would flood, 3 it would flood. It might be possible that after flooding it again, it may get this packet number 3. Okay, so as it knows that already packet number 3 it has already flooded, it would not further flood it into the network. Similarly, if a packet number 2 arrives here, okay, because since it is flooding, it might be possible that it would the packets would loop and come back to the same host, same router once again. So if it finds that the packet number 2 has once again it has come to this router A, as it knows that it has already been forwarded, it would not forward it further, it would discard such particular packets. Okay, so that is nothing but that for every packet it would provide the sequence number, so that as and when the same sequence numbered packet arrives, it would not forward it further, but it will drop such packets from the network. So the same thing holds good for the other routers also. Okay, as soon as they receive the same sequence packet number, they'll not forward it further, they'll just remove it from the network. Follow? The next type of flooding is selective flooding. Selective flooding means what? Say suppose router E knows that to reach to this host D, say suppose any host which is connected to this router D, it knows that it is in this direction, then it would only forward the packets in this direction. It would not forward the packet in the opposite direction. Are you getting my point? Selective flooding means what? If the router knows that a particular host is in a given direction, then the packets would be flooded only in that direction. It would not flood it in the opposite direction. Okay, so that is nothing but the selective flooding. Is this clear, everyone? So there is no point in flooding in the in the opposite direction. As it if it knows that the particular host is in this direction, then there is no point in flooding in this direction. Okay, so that is nothing but the selective flooding. Then apart, the problem with the flooding is that the number of packets would be too many in the network, so that it may lead to congestion, etc. But there are certain advantages even for this flooding. One such advantage is that, say suppose some routers may go down, say suppose this has gone down and this has gone down, and as we know that if the packets which are with these C as well as F, their duplicates are already there in the network, so none of the packets would be missed, and those packets would be reached to the destination without any problem. Are you getting this? Because the duplicate packets would always be there because it is using flooding. The same copy of this packets would be with the other routers also. So there is a very less possibility of skipping any of the packet, and the packet may reach to the destination without any problem. Fine. So this is nothing but this is one of the application, or which is this is one of the advantage of using this flooding. The other advantage is that, say suppose if we are using a distributed database, okay, that means what? If I'm having a number of, say suppose some bank account, website is there, and they may bank server is there, and say suppose server 1 is there, server 2 is there, okay, and they are connected through some network. Fine, it might be. So what happens in case of distributed database, servers S1 would also maintain a copy of the database of all the customers, S2 also maintains a copy of all the customers. The same copy would be maintained by S1 as well as S2. In case of flooding, so the packet would reach to this S1 as well as S2, and both of them would update their database at the same time. Hope you are getting this. Okay, so this is one more advantage of using this flooding. Then one more application of this flooding is that it can be used as a broadcast message. That means all the routers or all the hosts within the subnet, all of them are receiving the packets, and hence all of them would get the data. Okay, so that is one more application of this flooding. And the last application is that it can be used as a to check or to verify the performance of any routing algorithm, because as we know that since it is flooding, one of the packet may reach to the host, to the destination host in the shortest it is in the shortest path. Okay, because H2 can receive one of the packet may travel through the shortest path and it can be received by this host H2. And if we want to compare certain algorithms with whether it is achieving the shortest path or not, that can be achieved by looking at this flooding. So the packets can be flooded into the network, and the one which is reaching first, that would take the shortest delay and it can be reached to this host H2. Okay, so such comparison of the algorithm can also be done with this the packets which are flooded into the network. So this is one. This was one of the algorithm, routing algorithm, and this is a static routing algorithm. So the next routing algorithm is a distance vector routing algorithm, and here it is a dynamic type of routing algorithm. What do you mean by dynamic? Or you can also say it is an adaptive type of routing algorithm. What do you mean by dynamic? Based upon the current traffic or the current metric, the routing table might be changing. Are you getting this? So that is nothing but the dynamic routing algorithm. So in case of distance vector routing, it uses the Bellman-Ford algorithm, which is sometimes they also use the term as Ford-Fulkerson algorithm. Okay, so they use Bellman-Ford, excuse me, or Ford-Fulkerson algorithm. In this distance vector routing, every router maintains a table to show that how a host can reach to the other routers, how one router can reach to the other routers, and also it maintains some metric in what cost it can reach to the other router. For that, it maintains a table. Okay. So, for example, if here and this table would be exchanged by the neighboring router. For example, the neighbor of router A is B, J, as well as E. Similarly, the neighbors of J is I, K, H, as well as A. Okay, so all these routers would be exchanging their table with each to their neighboring router, so that using that they'll update their own table. So we'll see one such example. Say suppose these are the neighbors of J, that is I, A, H, as well as K, and they are providing their table to the router J. So for example, router A has provided a table saying that to reach A to A is 0. Okay, this is the table of router A. To reach B from A, it takes around 12 units cost. To reach A to C, it takes around 25 units cost. To reach D through A, it takes around 40 unit cost, and so on. Are you getting this? This is the table which A has, which is constructed by A, and that table it will be provided to this router J. Similarly, there is one more table which is exchanged by router I to router J. You can see that I can reach to A with cost 24, whereas I can reach to I with cost 0. I can reach to H with cost 20, and so on. Hope this is clear. Similarly, H is having its own table, and that is exchanged with J. K is also having its own table, and it is exchanged with J. So these are all the tables which are exchanged by the neighboring routers which are connected to J. And J itself knows that the delay from J to A is 8 units, J to I is 10 units, J to H is 12 units, and J to K is around 6 units. Hope you all are getting this. Hello. So for this, some dummy packet would be sent to I, and the response of that would come to J. By looking at this, it would come to know the delay from J to I. Similarly, to get the delay from J to A, some packet it would send to A, and in response, when it receives that packet back, it would timestamp, or it would find out the delay, how much time it takes to reach to this host A, and so on. Okay, so now once this it has got this delay from J to each of these nodes, or to each of its neighbors, now it would construct a new table which is provided here. Now you can see that to reach to A, uh, the 0 is summed with 8, so it would be 8. 24 is summed with 10, so it is 34. Then 20 plus 12, 21 plus 6 is done. The minimum of this would be this one, 8. So it would make an entry saying that A can be reached at the cost 8. Hope this is clear. Now similarly, to reach B, 12 plus 8 is 20, 36 plus 10 is more than this 20, 31 plus 12 is also more, 28 plus 6 is also more. So A can reach to B with a cost of 20 through A. Okay. Now the next entry is for C, 25 plus 8 is 33, 18 plus 10 is 28, and the 19 plus 12 is greater than this 28. Similarly, 36 plus 6 is also greater than 28. So it would make an entry that to reach C, it would reach to C with cost 28 through I. Hope you are getting this, because this is the minimum one. 18 plus 10 is 28. Hello, are you getting this? Hello. Hope you are getting this thing. So these are the tables which are exchanged by the neighboring routers of J. Are you getting this? So A has provided this table to J, I has provided this table to J, H has provided this table to J, and K has provided this table to J. As well as J itself will find out the delay of each of these neighbors, what it can, in how much delay it can reach to the neighboring routers, and then what it will do, it will sum the current delay as well as this table's content, and the one which is the minimum one, that would make its entry, and the node which is the minimum one, so that would be provided. That means B can be reached to J can reach to B through A with the cost of 20, or with the delay of 20. Similarly, say suppose if I want to find out from J to G, what is the how it can reach to G. Say 18 plus 8 is 26, 31 plus 10 is 41, 6 plus 12 is 18, then 31 plus 6 is 37. That means this one is minimum, 12 plus 6. So that means here it would make an entry saying that J can reach to G at the cost with 18 and through the router H. Hope this is clear, everyone. Fine. So periodically such new routing table would be generated by each of these routers, and this table would be exchanged by router J to their neighbors also when their turn comes. Okay. Similarly, this would be done by each of these routers. So they will exchange their information, and accordingly they will construct this table. Right? Hope everyone is clear. So since it is dynamic, you can see that periodically this would be done. Say suppose one of the router goes down, then accordingly the table would be changed. Follow? This is about the distance vector routing. Now there are some problems with this distance vector routing, so that we'll see. Say suppose if we are having A, B, C, D, E, all these are the routers which are connected linearly in this manner. Assume that initially A was down, okay, and now it has come up. Since A was down, so all of them, the entry was initially, the entry was not there for A. Now it has come up, fine. Now B, it would send periodically this, the dummy packet it would send to the neighboring, as we have done for this J. Similarly, B would send a dummy packet to its neighbor, that is A as well as C. Now, what it learns that here we are taking the metric as a hop. What it learns that in a single hop, it can reach to the A. Is it clear, everyone? The metric here is A, is the number of hops. So what B learns that it can reach to A in one hop. Okay, and still C, D, E is not aware about this. Right? Now, see, when C's turn will come, it will come to know that C can reach to A by one hop from C to B. It knows that I can reach to B in one hop, and it also knows that B knows that it can reach to A in one hop. So total in two hops, C can reach to A. Similarly, D can reach to A in three hops. E can reach to A in four hops. Okay, so like this, it is not that as soon as A comes up, all of them would not come to know at a time that A has come up, and they'll be able to reach to A some way. Okay, so after four exchanges, it would come to know that it will reach to A in these many hops. If there are n number of routers which are connected linearly, and in n number of exchanges, it would come to know that all the routers would come to know that they can reach to router A. For this is one thing. The other thing is that, say suppose, now once this table is done, 1 2 3 4, okay, now once again the A has gone down. Okay, so B will send a dummy packet to A, and it would come to know that it cannot reach to A. Fine. Now, as we know that B will also send to C, and it knows that C can reach to A through in two hops. So what it will assume that since C can reach to A in two hops, it doesn't know that it is through B itself. So what it will do, it will and as it knows that B can reach to C in three hops, it will update B can reach to C in one hop. It will update this to 3. Are you getting this? Now what C will come to know that the C will come to know that B can reach to A in 3 hops, so it will update to 4. So this will be continued, okay, until it is infinite. Hope you are getting this. Hello. Shall I repeat the things? In this design, it would be easy for you to rotate the item. Okay. Design here, design. Now, this is the metric. This is what it is already done. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4 is my delay, or you can say here they took the example of a hop count. Okay, so assume that A is working currently, and the hop count what it is providing. That means B can reach to A in one hop, C can reach to A in 2 hops, D can reach to A in 3 hops, and E can reach to A in 4 hops. Assume that this is the situation. Now, once this table entry is done, assume that A has gone down. The router A is not working due to some issue. Now, what happens, when B, as we have studied here periodically, it has to find out the delay. So in this example, we are taking about the metric as the hop. So P will send a periodic dummy frame, or the dummy packet is sent to A to check whether A is working. Okay. So since it finds that A is not working, what it will send a packet here also. But since C is working, and it knows that C can reach to A in 2 hops. Getting this, there is an entry here. Initially, it was 2 hops, but it doesn't know that C is C is using B to reach to A. It doesn't know that, right? So what happens? Since B comes to know that C can reach to A in 2 hops, so what it will do? As it knows that B can reach to C in 1 hop, So 2 plus 1 would be 3. So this new entry is, it makes here that B can reach to A in 3 hops, assuming that C can reach to A using some other path. Say suppose this link goes down. Okay, and hence it will assume that C can reach to A in 2 hops. So it will increment one more hop because B can reach to C in 1 hop. So 2 plus 1 would be equal to 3. Now C learns that D can reach to A in 3 hops as well as B can also reach to A in 3 hops. So what it will do? 2 3 plus 1, because C can reach to B in 1 hop. So 3 plus 1, it would make change it to 4. Hope you are getting this. Okay. Now by looking at this 4, D will learn that C can reach to A in 4 hops. So it will update itself with 5, and B also will update to 5. By looking by E, what it will do? It will see that D can reach to A in 5 hops, so it will update to 6. Similarly, this will update to 5, and this again assume that these would reach to A through 5 hops, so it will update to 7 and so on. So this will be continued till infinite, till this count reaches to infinite. Okay, so this problem which occurs due to this distance vector routing is the count to infinity problem. Hope everyone is clear. So this is also a dynamic routing algorithm. So the one which we have studied, the shortest path, that is a Dijkstra's algorithm, that is a static type of routing algorithm. The optimality principle, hope you have understood this, the sync tree. What do you mean by sync tree? Hello. So sync tree may have number of routers with the communication links, and we have to find the optimal path would be there from a node to the, from the various source to the destination, or from various destination to a given source. Okay, so since there would not be more than one optimal path, there would be a unique there would not be any loops, and there that forms a tree like structure which is known as a sync tree. Okay, so with this, we'll stop here, and up to this distance vector routing, it would be there in your course for your sessional. Any doubts in this? Any doubts among this? If you have any doubts, let me know. Okay, then we'll stop here and we'll continue in the after your sessional. Wishing you good luck for your exams.